What's up everybody and welcome back to my channel, F-Stop with F Dot. And yes, I know it's been a while, but I'm back. Just been busy with life, coronavirus and what's not, but I'm back and we're right here, still shooting, still making amazing images. And I just wanted to sit down with you today because what you just saw was some behind the scenes footage of a shoot I got to do with a friend of mine, Sharon Rolle. She hit me up, she said she wanted to do a shoot for a birthday. She just said she only had a few ideas. She was just like something colorful and tropical. And she basically said, listen, whatever you pick, she would do. So I just kind of went with the flow and I saw the tropical vibe. She didn't want to do the beach, which is kind of cliche if you live here in the Bahamas. Everybody shoots on the beach. If they say tropical, they just automatically think beach. But I decided that I was going to go somewhere a little different. And I found this nice farm in one of our rural areas. I found a farm that had these beautiful banana tree groves. And one of the outfits she said she was going to wear was going to be green. And I was just like, you know what, that might be perfect to match those together. So I saw the banana grove and I was just like, this would be the perfect place to go. And I went to the farm. Of course, I had to ask for permission. You don't want to shoot on people's farm without permission. So I shot on the EOS R and I used the 51.2 and not the RF 1.2. I ain't got that much money yet, but I was able to use the regular EF mount 1.2 and convert it to the RF mount. And it works like a dream. All of the features still work. You still get the eye focusing. You don't get any of the image stabilization stuff, of course, but you still get that eye focusing, which is beautiful. And you know, a lot of the hype going on now with the new R5 and the R6, I still want to tell people, like, listen, if you don't have to upgrade, because I know a lot of people out there are just like, you know, the new cameras come out, they go to buy it right away. But if you do not have to upgrade right now, I mean, take it from a guy who used the 5D Mark III for upwards of almost 7 years, a 5D Mark III, right? Take it from that guy. If you do not have the upgrade, image quality does not change that much. Yes, on the R5, you're gonna get that 40 megapixel sensor, and I'm sure the images are better once you zoom in. But if you look at it in reality, a lot of stuff we are posting now and where it's going is ending up on Instagram anyway. So you don't have to end, you know, the highest resolution, 45 megapixels, will you be able to tell the difference? Is the money worth the upgrade? You know, is the money worth the megapixels just for the upgrade, just to say you have it? Or do you really need it? And of course, I know the video shooters are going wild, 8K, 4K, 120, beautiful stuff. But I'm just saying, if you don't have the upgrade, if you already have an EOS R, I assure you that you're not gonna be missing much by not having an R5 or an R6. Just my opinion, I could be wrong, but from the test I've seen, I think that, listen, if you have an EOS R right now and you're shooting stills, I think you're doing a good job and I think your images are gonna be fine. So I wouldn't rush to get it. As you can see, these images are spectacular, and this is the EOS R, nothing crazy. If you can afford the new RF glass, I would say probably get the new RF glass. If you're really looking for a quality upgrade, the glass will probably make all of the difference for you because the RF lenses, we cannot lie, are spectacular. So if you could get your hands on the RF lenses and you're not gonna break the bank, get the RF lenses and you should be fine. I'm modifying a lot of my lenses now. I'm modifying the 51.2 on the EOS R, the 100 macro on the EOS R, and I think it works perfectly. I even used the 40mm pancake on the EOS R, and it's beautiful, especially in video. Actually, it's a beautiful lens. So I just want to say, you know, listen, take your time. If you don't have the upgrade just yet, don't rush for the R5 and R6. I mean, I'm sure they still have a lot of kinks to work out, and you don't want to be in that test, that guinea pig section of the market where you just buy it so quick that everything you have to do now is to fix it, upgrades and firmware. Wait a couple months, maybe a couple years, then you get it, and it'll be perfect just for you. Just my thoughts. But that behind the scenes footage was shot on my Sony a6500 on the Ronin SC. It's a beautiful combo. I use it for just about anything video. I swear by it. Sorry, I swear by it. I could be wrong and people are looking at me like, Sony a6500, whatever. But you know, I use it. Picture profile 7, color grade, love it, and it works out perfect. So I'm just saying that stuff looks good. But anyway, enough of that. Let's head to the computer now, check out some of the images, and you know, just see how they looked and how they worked out. So yeah, we're gonna start off with one of my favorite images from the shoot. It's the one in the banana grove. Like I said, we were using the open shade in the bananas to kind of, you know, keep the light off of, but still be flattering. This one is shot very available light. This was no flash, of course, used on this image. And this was just framed in the banana trees. We're in the middle of 2 rows of banana trees, shooting directly down the middle. And the color is just gorgeous in here. I think so. The color works gorgeously. In Lightroom, what I did is just a little bit of post-processing, pushed the highlights a little bit, muted some of the yellows in this. because, you know, the sun is always yellow, so I muted the yellows a kind of bit so you can see like there's no yellow in these areas, and it kind of gave a great effect, I think. It didn't kill the skin too much, but it definitely pulled those yellows out of the banana leaves and just left the green in these areas. So you can see a lot of green in these areas here, and over here you have a lot of green, and no, you don't see the yellow, but I think it worked great. But I just think it's nice how you can see down the entire grove of bananas, and you can see more bananas, and up here is in focus, and back there is out of focus, and up here is out of focus. And again, that's the beauty of that 51.2. And like I say, if you don't have that 1.2 money for that RF version yet, if you have an old EF 1.2, get a modifier and modify your lenses to fit, because they still look great on this camera. And you know, nobody's gonna complain about the image quality, because when you look at it, it's just gonna be fine. Like the 1.2 still works, the 50 is still a great lens. And so if you don't want to pony up that money yet to get those new RF lenses, the EF lenses versions of those still work great on the new EOS R body, and I'm sure they work same on the EOS R6 and the EOS R5. Let's move on to one of my other images from the same. I'm gonna keep it in the green. So yeah, this is one of the images, another image is from the same green set again. We used that, this one is shot with flash. This one has the, like I talked about, that Godox V1 inside the newer 27-inch softbox, and it just left a beautiful catch light right here in the eye, I think. So it left just a beautiful catch light in the eye, and it balanced really well here. Of course, over here in Lightroom, this coloration and flare look is done in Lightroom, so you can do stuff like that in Lightroom. I think it just accentuated the, in the other image you saw that I sucked out some of the yellows and the green, but this one I kind of gave it this soft warm glow to one side of the image. I think it worked out real good. Again, the outfit and all the styling of this kind of worked really good, and I think these images came out perfect. This image is one of my favorites from this. We didn't do a lot of work on these again. Of course, like I always say on my channel, I'm not going to talk about retouching and airbrushing, because there's just so much subjectivity to that and objectivity. Everybody has a different way of doing it. But again, I do my version. It works. People like it, and I'm sure other people have versions of their airbrushing that they love as well. But this is one of my favorite images from that set again. Now, we also didn't do the green banana grove. The green banana grove I think worked out perfectly. It was just a great choice for a location with these outfits. But in our last image was the greenhouse on the farm that is not filled in yet. And like I said, Sharon is a dancer, so sometimes the poses get really off the charts. So this, in this greenhouse area here, I just knew this was going to be fantastic. When I drove by and saw it, I said I knew the light was going to be great in here, and it was going to give a lot of opportunity for just some great leading lines. In this image you can see there are a lot of leading lines up top, leading lines at the bottom. It's just the image just frames itself. I think it's a hard time to take a bad picture in this location. If you have the right model and the right subject, this is going to look beautiful off the top. So this image in here, you can see all of the leading lines used on these shelving, and in the roof trusses, they kind of just draw you into the center of the frame. It looks like a zoom effect. I mean, even out on the roadside, you still have the fences, more leading lines, and even further out, it just worked well. In Lightroom, we just pulled down some of the highlights just so we could see all of the, we didn't want to blow out the whites in the wood, because, you know, the sun was out now. This was a bright sunny day. And off to the left here is the Godox V1 bare bulb banging back here to fill in the shadows on her face. Bare bulb now. I didn't have I have a new softbox on, but I wasn't using it. This was a bare bulb into the model's face just to fill in all of the shadows. And like I said, we just pulled down some of the highlights in Lightroom. Just to, like I said, we didn't want all of these stuff to look blown away, you know. We wanted to still see that it was actually white wood, painted wood, and it worked out well. And because of this, you know, you can see the green. And then, of course, in this dress, which was beautiful, the dress, we amped up some of the saturation just so the dress really popped out amongst the white. I don't talk about airbrushing too much. I just wanted to show you some of the little technical things that you can do to make images really pop. And most of it is in finding your locations. Like I said, this location worked really well because, again, up top here was that in this greenhouses normally have a scrim on the top to kind of diffuse the sunlight so it evenly is distributed across the plants, but it works great for you as a photographer because that's what we do. We try to diffuse light all the time. So having that diffused light in this area really made it pop out, and the image really, they just look great right there. We just had a good time looking through those images. I hope you learned something and saw the process that goes into sometimes shooting out in the bright sun. Like I said, you know, In the islands, there's a lot of bright sun all of the time, so there's always bright sun, and there's some things you have to deal with, especially when you have to find open shade, especially if you're shooting late in the morning when the sun is already getting like right above your head. Like, you're gonna look for open shade to make it work, especially if you're gonna be shooting with 1.2 and 1.4 lenses. You don't wanna be out there in the hot sun with a 1.2 trying to get depth of field. It's just gonna be wild, messy. You're gonna be frustrated with a lot of stuff. So look for open shade. If you have an assistant, I would advise you get an assistant. And you know, sometimes when I'm here, I use an assistant to use a scrim. You know, if you get a scrim over the above sun here in the islands, because the sun is so strong, and you get a nice scrim that probably drops off 2 stops of light, it's gonna look fantastic. So sometimes think about doing stuff like that. But what we did was we used the banana trees in our case, in this shoot. We used the banana trees to find the open shade. And then that shot you saw in the greenhouse, you know, that was actually pretty cool because the greenhouse itself already had a built-in scrim. So what you were seeing is that the scrim on top of the building was actually diffusing the sun nicely for me. So I didn't have to worry about too much of the direct sun, although the sun was probably up at the 11, 12 o'clock at that point. It had a diffusion material on the top of it that was breaking up the sun enough that it made it very cool to shoot in, and it also made the light very flattering. So look for things like that when you're looking for locations to shoot. That's the first thing I saw when I first drove by. I was just like, oh man, this place has diffusion material already on top of it. I'm sure at any point of the day it's gonna be beautiful in the shoot. In fact, one of these days I might go back and do like a sunset thing because it's just I could see the sunset would be nice in that same location. So look for things like that when you're scouting locations, but just be mindful of what you're gonna do and just be prepared for any situation because, you know, like I said, I shot with the Godox V1 flash unit. For some images, I had that new nice, you know, I have the shout out Newer, and I buy a lot of Newer products because they're inexpensive, but they actually work great. Like that Newer small softbox on top of the Godox flash is like a dream, man. The light is very focused. It has the inner diffusion, the outer diffusion. It works like a dream. And if you're really looking for nice focused light with that, a nice, I could recommend that. I could actually recommend something. I'm recommending something here. Get that Newer 27-inch softbox. It folds down like a dream. It has the carry case. It works beautifully with the Godox V1 flash unit. I'm sure it'll work good with any flash unit, but that's the one I use it with all the time. So use that and you're gonna get some beautiful light. You can put it anywhere. I regularly, people, use the Godox V1 flash bare bulb. And people think that's wild and crazy, but the Godox V1 bare bulb is actually beautiful. It's a beautiful light. Some reason that round head makes the light spread so beautifully. But if you're gonna use a modifier with the Godox V1, I suggest this Newer 27-inch. I wish they had a grid to go with it. I wish Newer, if you're listening, if you have a grid to go with this, please send your boy one, or at least send me the link to one, I'll buy it. But if you have a grid to go with this, it would be perfection. So that's been it for this episode of F-Stop with F. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, which is most important. And again, don't forget to subscribe and come back. And if you like the channel, please share the videos. Let your friends know if they're interested in photography or just want to see some cool pictures. Tell them check it out. F-Stop with F. See you next time.